The next product I'd like to take you through for 2018 is SRAM GX Eagle. If we go back a few years, in fact, if we go back 5 years, SRAM introduced the first one-by specific drivetrain. So as you guys will know, we got rid of the front derailleur. We tried to simplify the drivetrain to give users, give riders really what they needed to achieve what their goals were in biking. So we started off with a 1042 drivetrain on XX1 and then trickled down at price points. A year ago, we really pushed the boat out and went for, developed what we call Eagle drivetrain. So Eagle was taking on board everything we learned from 11 speed, from XX1, from X01, from X1, from GX, and really optimizing it into a new platform that's designed specifically each and every component to work together as one complete system. Now that's really important for us because the cassette, the chainring, the derailleur, the shifter itself are all specifically designed to work with one another. So let me tell you how we got to that. So if you're familiar with XX1 and X01 Eagle, they were introduced last year. So XX1 Eagle was introduced as the cross-country platform. You may have seen it in the gold spec. Nino Schurter's racing that drivetrain to win World Cups, World Champs. And also we introduced X01 Eagle. X01 Eagle aimed more towards trail and enduro mountain bikers, a little bit more sturdy in the build itself. We didn't go for carbon in some of the parts. For example, the rear derailleur, we used aluminium alloys for just a little bit more strength and stability. What we did in that year in developing the products and introducing it at that level, at that kind of that top end, we again fulfilled that need of actually a bigger range. So a 500% gear range from 10 to 50 teeth, creating a simple drivetrain as possible. So one ring on the front, no need for extra complications, freeing up space on the handlebar. In limiting those additional components, we're making a drivetrain that's more durable, that's relying on one in each component itself. And it's also lightweight. We're taking away all of those complexities, all those what we consider things that aren't needed as a drivetrain. So some really unique things, and actually probably the most special thing I think about GX Eagle as a drivetrain is actually looking at the cassette in comparison to the XX1 and X01 cassette. So XX1 and X01 introduced last year. You may be familiar with this part of the cassette from this first ring up to the 11th is actually machined out of one piece of steel, a solid piece of steel. Incredible piece of engineering, but also very time consuming and tool intensive to create. So it's fairly costly to do so. What we knew we wanted to achieve with GX Eagle is the same technology, the same shift performance, but we needed to make it at a price point that's attainable for most users out there. We want to get it on bikes at 1,100 euros, 1,200 euros, rather than 3,000, 4,000 euros. So what the engineers at SRAM did is that they took that technology and that performance and they created each ring itself in stamped steel and then riveted it together all the way through, and then again riveted that to the aluminium backplate as it is on X01 and XX1 Eagle. Working through some of the products we got on here, so again the same technology and performance in the shifter itself, but again just slightly simplified. Instead of using a bearing inside there and complex machine parts, we've learnt the technology and learnt how we can optimize it to bring it down to a lower price point. So instead it uses bushings, it uses more forged parts, so a little compromise in weight, but exactly the same performance in Eagle technology. The crankset itself, so you'll know that on I'll hopefully know that on X01 and XX1 Eagle, the cranksets we use are actually carbon cranksets. On GX Eagle, we're using aluminium alloy cranksets themselves. So this particular one is the BB30 GX Eagle crankset. We also have a GXP Eagle crankset, which has a little bit of a wider profile here. Again, allowing us to reduce that price point and bring in the drivetrain for SRAM at a price point where we're getting it onto those performance bikes at a level where most people, we argue, are buying those bikes. Moving to the rear derailleur itself, if I take, in fact, let me grab one. I could take our X01 rear derailleur. So this is our highest level performance Eagle derailleur for enduro or mountain use. And this is our GX derailleur. And what you'll see looking at both of them there is that the architecture and the technology and the engineering is identical. We're getting exactly the same performance, but we're using different materials, we're using different machining processes to make the same technology at a more affordable price point. the missing piece of the puzzle, which is not actually here right now, but you can see actually a small piece here of it, is the chain itself, and that's a super important part of SRAM Eagle technology. The chain uses a technology what we call flow link, and flow link is in its simplistic terms is a chamfering of the internal parts of the chain itself, which allows when it moves in conjunction and it works with this X-Sync 2 chainring, which is an update from X-Sync 1, which you'll be familiar with from pre-Eagle technology. It allows a much smoother transition of the chain onto the chain rings, a much smoother transition of the chain onto the cassette. And what we've found that in use, we were hoping to increase the durability by X factor, by a certain percentage, but really when it came down to it in product testing, we found that we went far, far beyond, and we're getting 4 times the life out of our chain and 4 times the life out of our drivetrains as well, which is a massive, massive improvement. And that's been verified by several impartial testers as well, outside of SRAM, magazines, journalists like we're working here. So again, the key points of this for Eagle drivetrain, for GX Eagle, is creating a drivetrain with a range to suit all riders, a simplistic drivetrain, taking away the complexities of many modern drivetrains. It's lightweight. We've increased that durability of the drivetrain as well. And it's got and as I say, the main function, that 500% gear range in there. I think that's everything that I'm probably going to talk about on GX Eagle drivetrain, but certainly if you have any more questions, I'm always happy to answer.